opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. This is Chip.
And I'm CJ. Good morning.
We have CJ's back in the bunker. I guess he's under attack again. His drone strikes are been called in against him, so as he said, they're dropping eggs on him. So, but yeah, we have a ton of news to deal with here, and it's again about all the machinations of the city of Fall River. It's just, I mean, they're going to have to hire an entire cadre of newspaper people just to track the mayor's issues. I guess CJ, we can begin with the latest twist and turn in the continuing saga of his multiple different legal issues. I guess the John Creedon case has been thrown out by a judge.
Well, we kind of expected that would happen. It's definitely a constitutional issue, saying that he didn't have the right to post a picture. And I don't know how you can accost a woman via the computer. I mean, I guess this is going to be the newest thing, online rape or something. I just can't figure this out,
Yeah,
I mean, I can understand bullying, but, I don't know about accosting. It just seems to be a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I believe Mr. Creedon's attorney said that that the magistrate shouldn't have even issued the complaint and got it in front of a judge, because I guess judges unfortunately have very, very big schedules, and it's basically a waste of the court's time. As you said, the judge said clearly it didn't rise to the level of any kind of threat and this is again, it gets back to why they do this. He got away with this for his first few years in office. He always, because he was a lawyer, he always liked to threaten court actions against everybody. He scared a lot of people with it, but now I guess there are a lot of people that he's not going to scare with these threats, because every time you opposed him, he threatened you with some kind of litigation. I guess they give them some kind of virus in law school where they litigate everything, and regardless of whether it's frivolous or not, they just love litigation. And so I just, on occasion, I was, threatened with, with various legal actions. One was a HEPA violation when I exposed the fact that the mayor got special health care coverage when he was a young man, and his father, he was not covered under the city insurance, and there was a special dispensation created for the mayor, and he took, I guess he didn't like that fact being known by the people, especially in light of the fact that he was screwing all the current city employees and retirees. So I got the veiled threat of I was going to be charged with a HEPA violation, but I wasn't divulging any medical facts or anything. I just basically said he had insurance coverage.
Yeah, well, insurance coverage is now a HIPAA violation. And I didn't realize that HIPAA applied to you, Chip. I really didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't, but, who cares? I mean, just like the First Amendment didn't apply to Mr. Creedon. So, yeah.
Well, the law, that's really interesting about the law in Fall River. It doesn't apply to anybody in government center. So I guess in that building over the highway, you are immune from all law and the Constitution, because, we out here on the streets seem to be subject to everything, and we don't get an option, okay? We just get hauled into court and told, you're violating the law. And then it takes a judge to turn around and say, away it goes. It's sad. It really is. And
Yeah, and there we go. And that's the next thing. Monday is the big day. You know,
Ooh, yes.
the first day of court for the recall, with the same kind of frivolous kinds of things that saying somebody touched the petitions that wasn't on the petition, the original 10 signatures, and
hey, I resemble that remark.
yeah, you know, I mean, it's absolutely, it's ludicrous, but you know, this is what they do. You know, they pile on all the, you know, the inane types of issues that mean absolutely nothing, and it's just, well, you know, somebody touched the petition, and somebody didn't know what they signed, and somebody felt intimidated, and somebody, you know, and it's like just on and on ad nauseum, when the fact is that they can't produce more than 10 or 12 people, and we're some 1,400 votes over the threshold. So, I mean, it's totally, you know, it's pointless, it's moot, it's insane, but again, this is what happens. And what do we get out of this? We get a government that's in total grid. I mean, can you really believe that he's running the city?
I don't think anyone's running the city personally.
I don't even know. I haven't heard anything about any kind of city politics or anything like this now in the past month.
It seems the city has come to a standstill, even in the city council. I mean, you now have Councilor Dan Rigo proposing a resolution to have a vote of non-confidence in the mayor. And we already know that's going to be a 7-2 vote. Well, actually, a 7-1-1. You know, 7 for, 1 against, and 1 present.
But I'm going to have to object to that present vote, because I think he's been kidnapped by aliens. I don't really believe he's in the council chamber. I believe it's just his physical shell. I think he's been beamed up to the Starship Enterprise. Because
hey, don't pick on the Enterprise. The Star Trekkers will get all upset, and believe me, they can be a violent bunch.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it seems as though, as we talked in a previous show, that, you know, this type of total, you know, disorganization and acrimony is now you know, filtered down to the city council. We saw the last city council meeting, which was incredible. We've got city councilors yelling at people on citizens' input and actually challenging them and making statements like you'd find on a corner of Flint Street on a Saturday night.
Yeah, I know.
It is a sad commentary on government. It's bad enough, and you know, it's. I'm not excusing it, but it's easy to understand sometime when people go up in citizens' input and they get a little carried away. You know, they're emotional. They may have a very personal issue that is important to them, and they're frustrated, and they get carried away. And when that happens, obviously, you know, you can kind of understand where they're coming from. But the city council has a president that's supposed to maintain order and decorum in the chamber. Councilors are there as councilors. They're not there as their individuals. That's why the council president attempts to not allow personal attacks, just deal with the issues that, you know, of the city. And they haven't been doing a very good job. The last council meeting, there were confrontations between city councilors, confrontations with city councilors, with the general public at citizens' input, and it's just, I mean, when people look at these videos, it's just a laughing stock of not only this country, probably internationally now. I mean, we don't have a government. This looks like total chaos. It looks like the lunatics are running the asylum.
I've thought the lunatics were running the asylum for a while. I mean, I won't even justify it because I do have a clip of a recent city council meeting where a city councilor decided to call out one of the speakers and actually started an argument. And I thought that was funny. But I don't want to justify it with the clip, although the clip can be very interesting. But, you know, I have to really bring up, and that's, you know, the firestorm of Fall River, which is the recall, which we will know if it's going forward in the next couple of days. But the poor, and I mean extremely poor, number of people who've decided to run for the office of mayor with what political, tactics they want or thing they're trying to make out with. I mean, you have so far who've turned in their papers Mayor William Flanagan and David Dennis. We don't know if Mike Mioza is going to turn it in. Rumor has it that he's not going to run, which, if he's not going to run, raises the questions of, number one, why, and what deal may or may not have been cut. The second issue that we're having is you have papers that have been taken out by District Attorney Sam Sutter. And you have to ask yourself, what is he trying to do by running for mayor? He makes more money as a district attorney. So what is it he's trying to do? Is this going to be a step off to a higher political career, which we know he has tried to accomplish in the previous? But and of course we've got the wingnuts. But that's it. I mean, the viable candidates that we actually have are Will Flanagan, which may or may not be on the ballot, pending a judge's decision. Dave Dennis, which is a viable candidate, but again, some people would say, if he's the only one I've got to choose, then that's the one I'm going to take. And if the other people don't come through with papers, I mean, really, what are we going to have? I mean, it seems to me that we're going to have the same bag of bones and the same aggravation that we've had all along. And do we really want that?
Yeah, well, that's a good observation. We do have some other people that they still have till Monday, I believe, to pull papers. We still have some people whose names are still out there. But again, as you said, the DA is running unopposed, and I don't know whether he's confused. Does he want to be the DA or the mayor? I don't understand. He's running unopposed for a 4-year term for a higher paying job, but he wants to become the mayor of Fall River. I'm not sure if they're altruistic reasons. I don't tell me we're going to hear from another lawyer. I love the city of Fall River. That's why I want to take a pay cut and be mayor. I'm not sure if that's an argument that will play in Peoria, so to speak. And so there are a lot of questions as to why. And from everything I've heard, he's done a fairly good job as the DA, not being a criminal except in the eyes of the mayor. I haven't had a lot of a lot to do with the criminal justice system.
The biggest problem I have, Chip, is that there's no one who has a financial or truly business management background. And does that mean that we're just going to put the same old political machine in, but with a different name? And that's a serious question to ask anyone who is finally certified to be candidate for mayor. Because if it's just going to be the same old, I mean, you and I are going to be extremely frustrated. We're going to be like, why did we bother? But, the people have to realize that if it's the same old, Fall River will never come out of what it is. And I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting with former state representative and mayor Robert Ferry yesterday, and we had a long conversation about what happened during his term. And the problem is that the people of Fall River, namely the unions, were not happy with the fact that he had to cut jobs and he had to have pay cuts. And he did that to keep the city out of bankruptcy. But meanwhile, you have somebody who has papers out, that being Sean Kadim, which has freely admitted on the air that he has violated the law. He knew it was a violation of the law. So he's already an admitted criminal, just not convicted. And he wants to run for mayor. Why a man would want to leave his job as, in essence, the de facto mayor of Seekonk to come to Fall River to run for the mayor of Fall River, to me, seems to be a little questionable. The biggest question that I have, though, is Sean Kadim admitted that his proposal was to privatize DPW. And that was where it should have been. And the mayor was on board with that until he needed money. So they went to pay as you throw, and that kept the DPW jobs. But does that mean if Sean Kadim should get certified as being a candidate for mayor and should be elected mayor, would he get elected mayor and then immediately privatize DPW, resulting in a loss of jobs to the city of Fall River again? It just seems to be a little odd in how they're doing this, and I have to have, I have a lot of questions into some of the work that they're doing.
Well, it seems as though they all have the same mantra. I love the city of Fall River. I want to get the city on its feet. The problem is everybody is basically, it's like inbred Jed here. They all have some tie. All the major players here have a common denominator, and that is Will Flanagan. I mean, Mr. Sutter was his employer, and also Liz Souza's employer. He hired him. He was a supporter of the mayor. Sean Kadim was the mayor's city administrator, and obviously had a lot to do with the financial mess that we're in, because he continues to contend, even when he announced basically that the city has no deficit, and how that's possible is beyond me. Again, we have, and then we have the other denominator. Many of the primary candidates are lawyers.
True.
And we've already seen what one lawyer's done to this city. As I look back across the history of the city and look at the mayors that have done a pretty good job, I think they've been people with not an alphabet attached at the end of their name, Esquire, LLC, PhD, or whatever. They've been people who had a modicum of common sense. And I look at this and I see mayors who may disagree with some of their policies, but the city financially was fairly stable. Carlton Viveris had a GED. I don't even believe he had a high school diploma. He got a GED. Bob Carrere was a school teacher. Obviously, he had a degree, but he was a teacher before he became a rep for 30 years and the mayor. And obviously, a lot of people didn't agree with his management style, but when you look back on what he actually was doing, you may not have liked the way he did it, but what he did was actually look at the city objectively and say, hey, we're on the verge of bankruptcy. We don't have any money. We need to streamline government. We need to cut. We can't give out pay raises. And then Will Flanagan steps in and he just throws money around like a drunken sailor, for the old adage. And he gave out pay raises before every election, bond. And obviously, whether you like, I'm sure there are a lot of voters out there now, if they had it to do all over again, they might have kept Bob Carrere, even though they didn't like his management style. But the fact is, Bob Carrere was intelligent enough to realize that if we took a SAFER grant, we would have to sustain that manpower after the grant disappeared, and he chose not to take the SAFER grant. And that was an intelligent move.
It was, and the thing is that the people of Fall River, we all have 20/20 hindsight. We can all see where we were, what we thought was best, and it just is very interesting how we look back and we go, maybe we should have what we have. But my biggest problem is that right now in the city of Fall River, whether you are the CEO or mayor of the city of Fall River, corporate counsel, Department of Community Maintenance head of water and sewer, or public utilities as they like to call it, it seems like every single official in Fall River, the entire cabinet, for the lack of a better term for them, is all in the boat. They've all lied, they've all cheated, they've all been capitulant with the illegal activities of the 6th floor. And that says to me, what happens on day one if a new mayor takes office? Are we going to see that the same be-all, end-all, keep them all in office thing, even if you've cost us $1 million, or in some cases, $250 million, are you going to keep them in office for lying, for cheating, for stealing? We know that pay-as-you-throw came in because getting rid of DCM was not going to bring more money in. Waste management is expensive. So if we had privatized, the only thing we would have lost is the salaries and the benefits, but we wouldn't have generated any revenue. Pay-as-you-throw became the de facto tax on the people of Fall River, whether you were poor and indigent or whether you were making $148,000 a year, you were paying that tax. And you have to question what is going to happen to Fall River if we get stuck with the same people in the same offices. And you know, you were right, Chip, when you spoke on Wednesday about civil service being necessary, because these people are all contract. So even if we fire them with cause, we may still have to pay out their contracts.
Well, yeah, and that's the key. I think the key to this is if we are successful, and hopefully we will be, and have this recall election, and hopefully the mayor will not be on the bottom half of the ballot, but even if he is, for this city to begin to move in the right direction, we really need to look at the candidates, and we have to listen to what they have to say. And as far as I'm concerned, from my personal perspective, unless a candidate is willing to say, listen, we have to go back to square one. We have to tighten our belts. We have to streamline government. We have to look at every single position in this city and eliminate the ones that we don't need, that are not absolutely necessary. We have to reprioritize our tax dollar to make sure they're being used to keep firefighters, police officers, DPW on the job. And this is what we have to use our money for. We have to get away from this perspective that this is a champagne city when we're actually on a bare budget. The fact is, the next mayor has to realize that we are a poor city. We have difficulty raising money. We only have 37% of the people who own property here. We cannot continue to keep burdening these people with fees and taxes, because we are going to lose more property owners, and we'll end up with only 25% of the people in the city paying the taxes, and then our tax base will be so small we will be in receivership. There's no possible way for this city to survive economically unless someone has the courage to say, listen, we have to look at this budget, and from this day forward, every single penny that's spent in this city has to be looked at, scrutinized. Every contract has to be bid on properly. We have to get the best bang for our buck, and we have to run this city with one and only one basic principle. That is that the only reason this government exists is to provide essential services to the citizens of this city, not be an employment agency for political hacks and cronies, and not to be given pay raises to every Tom, Dick, and Harry from every state. And that's the reality. And I'll tell you, and I'll say it on camera, if there's no candidate that will say he's willing to look at this budget as a zero-based budget, is going to look at every single position in this government, and he's going to make the necessary adjustments to make sure that my tax dollar is spent properly, I will leave that section of the ballot blank. I would rather write in Alfred E. Newman.
Well, you want to put him on a city seal, so it makes sense. It's just, no one's going to come in, and I hate to refer back to Bob Correa, but nobody's going to come in and hand out pink slips. And we know that. We know that nobody has the cojones to come in and just say, you've screwed up over and over and over again, therefore you're fired. You have lied, you have cheated, you have stolen, you have been complicit in crimes, you're fired. And, that's one of the things we need to look at. We have somebody who works for a city department driving a city vehicle who gets informed about a week to 10 days prior to the drug testing that drug testing is going to come so this person can remain clean. We know who he is. We have the proof. And one of these days, we're going to come up and post that picture's face right there, and we're going to show it. Because city employees and some retirees who've worked with that individual know it. They know it. We have people who work for the city who are driving around in vehicles that are city vehicles with private plates. They're driving around doing their own private work on the side on the weekends. You know, for some reason they think they're above and beyond the law, and we're paying for this. And this is why we need a strict, and I do mean a strict look at every single department, every single employee, and justify why they're there. We just can't say, well, that's the mayor's friend, so we got to give him a job. Oh, that's the mayor's cousin, and we got to give him a job. Oh, that's the cousin of the sister of the brother who married my sister's cousin, and so we got to give him a job. Because it seems to me that Fall River employment is based upon what family tie you have. Seems that we don't have a family tree in Fall River. We have a family vine, and it just keeps growing everywhere. And it is amazing how many people. I mean, we just looked at the Board of Elections. They had to, every one of them had to recuse themselves because they were related to somebody, they did something with somebody. I mean, you know, we have window gate, we've got cousin gate. What else are we gonna get? I mean, this is getting sad.
No, you're right. But, you know, we're saying this, but it has already happened in the city of Fall River. The reason that we have a city administrator and we had a personnel director and many of these positions and these department heads and the new names of the departments were the direct result of a city-wide reorganization that was undertaken by former Mayor Carlton Viveris. And those positions, such as city administrator, and at one time there was a personnel director, were the result of an in-depth study done in each department, every job in the city, and it was supposed to streamline government and make government more official and efficient. I'm sorry, and official too. I'm sorry, that was I misspoke. But the fact is that, and initially it was a little bit more streamlined. But what has happened is, over the last 20 years or so, or 30 years or so, government has kept those positions like they always do, and like we do with our treasurers who leave, and every other position, keep them on as consultants, and then they've added all these unnecessary positions. We went to the trouble of streamlining government, then over the last couple of decades, we've managed to undo that streamlining. And so now it's time for history to go full circle. It's time to go back to that day and do the same thing again. Let's look at every position, let's look at every single job, and let's only keep the jobs that we absolutely need, because it's not the city's job to be an employment agency, it's the city's basic and fundamental moral obligation to provide essential services to the citizens of Fall River, not to give everybody they know a job.
You're right, and but that's something that people don't think. They think that this is the employment agency for every cousin and brother that there is. It's amazing how fast time flies. And as you said, on Monday, we will be in court. I'm going to see if we can possibly either broadcast live from court, or if we can get it set up so we can broadcast the court hearings at some point on the station. I do know that if we can broadcast them, they will be on YouTube as we are here. So with that, I want to thank you all, and have a great weekend. Hopefully the weather's better.
And don't forget to vote on December 16th. We will have an election.